Welcome along to the Time Farm Sporting Life Weekend Best Bets. David Ord, joined by Ben Linfoot and Richard Mann to cross the IVC a couple of times. But we're going to look ahead to Newcastle on Saturday and, of course, Sunday's Dubai Duty Free Irish Derby. Let's start with the Jennings Bet Northumberland Plate, the big betting race on Saturday. We're going to get the Time Farm ratings up on the screen. One Smooth Operator just about tops the shop on 122. It's very tight. Ben Linfoot, when I turn to you, I very rarely have to ask you about One Smooth Operator. We're going to do that on this occasion. Top of the shop, ratings-wise, is he top of your shortlist?
He's not top of my shortlist, but you can see why he's top of the Time Farm ratings, because he does look to be a well-handicapped horse at Newcastle and a really good run last time at Southwell when beaten by Pridwin, who's a bit of an all-weather specialist over a staying trip. So I can see the case for him. Andy Asquith put him up earlier in the week on Weekend View, and his prices come in from then. I think now when you're looking at single-figure prices, there are a few reasons to take him on. I do think he's a horse dependent on a strong gallop for a start, and we'll get onto that later, but there might not be one. And,
spoiler alert.
And he's an older horse as well, and he might just need a little bit of luck in running. But yeah, he's got a good chance. The price has just gone a little bit for me.
Right, so Mark Prescott runs 2. He could have run 3. He's decided not to run Pledge of Allegiance, his Royal Ascot winner. Trooper Bisdee is favourite for Sir Mark. What sort of chance do you give this one?
Well, the initial positives, Mark Prescott improver over a trip. Horse has been given plenty of time. It's just the Prescott playbook, really. The negatives were, it's 2 from 2 this season. I just thought the Ponty race that he won last time really fell apart. Mark Johnson had the second favourite. Charlie Johnson, never figured at all, and you were left up with the 69 rated Wendell C chasing on the Prescott horse. I don't really think that form's worth a lot. Potential to improve, obviously there. Holly Doyle's a really good booking, actually. Very good, strong jockey, and I think this horse will respond to that. But at the prices, I'd prefer to look elsewhere.
Ben, you mentioned it already. Let's have a look at the Time Farm pace map now. It's a big field. We always know that for Northumberland Plate. Different race now. It's on the artificial surface. We've had a few renewals. We're getting to know it. You've seen this pace map here. What's that telling you about the race?
Well, the Time Farm prediction is an even pace, and there isn't an awful lot of obvious front runners in there. You've got Island Brave, who will probably go forward from stall 5, and a couple drawn centrally like Trooper Bisdee, who Rich has mentioned, and perhaps Golden Flame. But there doesn't look to be a load of pace enforcers in there, and I think we're just going to get an ordinary medium gallop, and the hold-up horses might have the work to do to get into this. That would be my observation. I think you probably want to be at least mid-pack and maybe towards the front end if you're going to strike here.
Now, I've got a video clue for this race, Rich. It's going to be on screen in a second. It's Yashin in action at Leopardstown, and that's a horse I know that's on your radar for this race.
Yeah, Group 3 winner last year for starters. Really good run in the Skybot E-Bar. Only beaten 3 lengths. That was a cracking hot handicap, as it always is. And then 2 runs this year behind Kiprios in Pattern Company. The form's really strong. Look, carrying 9-7, rated 105. It's going to be a big ask, but this horse has never tried 2 miles, and for me, it has always been crying out for a trip. 2 runs this season, as I say, being over 1.6 miles, just keeping on. And I actually think there's a bit more to come over further. Son of Churchill, who again is a sire I really like, and I think they improve with stamina. I really do. I think that a lot of them want a test. So he's got a lot of weight, but Jesse Harrington's having a really good season, and I think his form's really strong. He hasn't got the scope to improve like the Prescott horse we've just discussed, but I think for some rock solid form in the book. Scott McCulloch, by the way, really good £3 claimer coming over as well, so that'll ease the burden just a little bit. I think he's got a knocking chance.
Is he the selection for you?
I think he probably is, yeah.
And the Linfoot dart is?
Well, I think it's an open race, and there's a couple at the top of the market I like. I think Grand Providence is sure to go well, and Nathaniel Philly, who should go well at this track. And I thought Brian Ellison's other one, Tashcan from top weight, might run a big race. He's going there fresh. But given it's such an open race, I want to chance one at a bigger price each way. And I like the look of Too Friendly for James Owen, who I was on in the Chester Cup, and there was a massive gamble. And he just ran too keenly that day for his own good. But you can just tell that he's a staying horse who could be on a mark that he can strike off. And I like what James Owen has done with him since, because he took the cheek pieces off, put a hood on him, dropped him in trip, then dropped him in trip again without the hood, and now the cheek pieces are back on. And I think it's just all part of a programme to get him to learn to settle. And if he settles better in this headgear with Callum Shepherd back on, I think he can run a big race at a big price.
Interesting stuff. Let's have a quick word on another race at Newcastle, the Chip Chase. Always an interesting renewal. Now, we've got horse in here, Rich, in Kinross, so we're going to get his career stats up on screen. He's been a magnificent servant to Rafe Beckett and the team there. Miss Royal Ascot last week because of the quick ground. They're running on an artificial surface here. Only in terms of this Chip Chase Stakes are you 4-4 against Kinross?
I think I'd be just about with him. I wouldn't be mad keen, but look, he's a class horse on show, isn't he? What a campaigner he's been. Hasn't won the last 2 seasons first time out. That would be a concern, but he did manage it in 2021, I think. So it can be done, and clearly they were aiming at last week as well. So you would think he would be pretty straight. He would be for me. I thought Razaman were dead interesting, if I may mention him. I think stiff 6 could be ideal, and I thought he was the type that could improve again, another winter on his back. So interesting to see how he goes. But Kinross, you would think, would have them beat.
Kinross the boss, Scoop?
Yeah, it's a tough one, this, because on ratings he's clear, and on his best form he's clear, and he should be fine on the track. He actually ran in the Group 1 2-year-old race here behind Kamiko and ran well. But Rich alluded to it. I do think he's vulnerable first time up. I do think now he's getting a bit older. He just needs a run, and for that reason alone, I'm prepared to take him on. There's a couple in there you could take him on with. Spycatcher's got a chance, I think. Montasib for William Haggis, but I quite like Albashir for Archie Watson, who's got a fabulous strike rate at this track, and he ran in the Wokingham last Saturday. He's not as good on turf. He found loads of trouble in running, but it should have put him straight for this race, and he's got some terrific Newcastle form, and at around 8-1 he's probably the bet against Kinross for me, Albashir.
Middle line on the Dubai Duty Free Irish Derby on Sunday. Time for ratings, it's 131 weight adjusted Ambiente friendly, 128p Los Angeles. You're down to 121p for the improving Roger Varian colt who's next in. Is it down to the rematch at Epsom, and will he, Ambient friendly again, have Los Angeles leg, Scoop?
I think it is. I think it's plain and simple, and I fancy James Fanshaw's horse. I think he's proven himself twice in a row now to be an excellent 1.5 mile horse as a 3-year-old. He showed it at Lingfield, but I think he showed it again at Epsom, and obviously his form was franked at Royal Ascot by the likes of Illinois, and I can see him going there, travelling away and winning the race. I just think he's slightly better than Los Angeles. Simple as that.
Rich?
This is always a really rough race, and I think Ballydoyle will make it one hell of a test. I still think he's not absolutely bomb-proof Ambiente friendly, particularly mentally, and I think this is Aidan O'Brien's home turf, isn't it? I think they'll make it a real test. Los Angeles is the obvious danger, and that's why Ryan's riding him. But I thought Grosvenor Square was really interesting. Run third at Chester behind the ill-fated Hidden Law. I know he's well beaten that day, but all of Aidan O'Brien's his better ones were needing a run at that point. And you go back through his form last year, pretty solid. He looks like crying out for 1.5 miles, son of Galileo. He's around 14-1, low draw with Wayne Lorden, and I think he's an each-way player. Scoop's going to tell me not.
Well, I tipped him last week for the Queen's Vase.
How did he run?
He was pulled out because of the fast ground, and I just wonder, would that be on your mind going into this race? But I like him as well.
His form is all on soft ground, but stiff uphill finish at the core.
I think he might need further, personally, but
potentially. I think he's interesting. I think he's definitely interesting. Double figure price.
I think it'd be interesting with Los Angeles that he was so difficult to saddle up, very, very difficult to load. I think you'll know before the race a little bit where you are with him, because they also tactically, they admitted in the post-race press conference, they almost sacrificed him in the derby because they wanted 2 to go forward and 1 to go back. I think he'll be ridden with a little bit more patience than he was at Epsom. I think they'll ride more of a race on him, and I think that might be enough for him to turn the tables.
A strong gallop that will, fall into Ambiente friendly's hands as well, because he's such a strong traveller, isn't he?
Like a dream, didn't he, at that?
Yeah, and you can just see him tanking around the current. I know it's a stiff track, etc., but yeah, I think the favourite will win.
This reminds me of when Siskin won the 2000 Guineas. I think he'd be blocked away Ambiente friendly, and I think the Ballydoyle Battalion will make it really hard for him. It's just whether he's good enough to travel and get out under Rab Havlin. It's a big pressure ride again for Rab Havlin. He obviously handled it well at Epsom, but we go again.
Fascinating. It's interesting that Ballydoyle ran the 4 to make sure it was a World Pool race as well, wasn't it, to qualify for the World Pool?
I couldn't believe that statement, really.
It's interesting. The race under pressure with the Irish Derby, isn't it? Alan Sweetman always singing the post. They haven't attracted City of Troy for obvious reasons this year, but it does feel as if others aren't playing ball quite as much with it outside the Ballydoyle team as was once a case. But we shall see a good winner, no doubt, on Sunday. Thanks to Rich and thanks to Ben, and best of luck with your own weekend selections.